Everyone in the grand marble lobby stopped when they heard the words, "I just want to check my balance." The voice was soft, tired, and almost apologetic. It belonged to Adam, the single dad janitor who worked the morning shift at Phoenix Towers, the most luxurious corporate high-rise in the city. His mop bucket squeaked beside him, his uniform was faded from years of washing, and his eyes carried the weight of a man who had been fighting silent battles for too long. On the other side of the polished floor stood Victor Hale, the billionaire investor whose name alone made executives straighten their posture. He was surrounded by bodyguards, assistants, and cameras. He had come to the building for a charity press event, and the media was already recording him as he performed his typical show of generosity. Then Adam stepped up next to him, holding an old debit card between his fingers. Victor smirked loudly, making sure everyone heard him. He scoffed. "You want to check your balance here? At this machine?" Reporters chuckled under their breaths. Even the security guard cracked a grin. But Adam didn't reply. He simply nodded, his shoulders tense, eyes down. He wasn't thinking about the billionaire, or the laughter, or the dozens of eyes watching him. He was thinking about his little girl, Lily, 8 years old, wheelchair-bound, and waiting at her school for him to pick her up. He wanted to know if the government support payment had arrived so he could afford her new therapy device today. Victor theatrically wiped a fake tear. "I love this city," he announced. "Even the janitors want to feel rich for a moment." Laughter filled the lobby. Cameras flashed. The moment was turning into a public joke, and Adam was the target. Still, he slid his card into the ATM. People leaned in. Victor leaned even closer, ready to mock the tiny balance he expected to see. Even the building manager stepped forward, whispering, "Adam, maybe check later." Not in front of everyone. But before anyone could speak further, the numbers appeared on the bright blue screen. The lobby went silent. Victor's mouth fell open, his face drained of color. It wasn't a couple $100. It wasn't even a few thousand. It was a figure that didn't make sense for a janitor, 8 digits, a balance large enough to fund a small company. Everyone froze. Adam swallowed hard, confused himself. He stepped back, blinking. That can't be right. Victor stared, suddenly pale. Where did you get that kind of money?" But Adam wasn't wealthy. Not in the way they assumed. The money wasn't an accident. It wasn't inherited. It wasn't luck. It was gratitude. And this was the moment the entire building, and the billionaire, would learn who Adam really was. Years ago, long before he worked as a janitor, Adam had been an engineer with the U.S. Navy. He had designed a prototype for an emergency navigation chip system, technology meant to help pilots land safely when all communication fails. But he never patented it. His wife had fallen sick, medical bills piled up, and the company he worked for collapsed. He left the engineering world entirely to care for his wife and newborn daughter. When his wife passed away, he took the janitor job simply because it was the only position available that allowed him to be home in the afternoons. But the prototype, it didn't disappear. A private aerospace company had rediscovered it. They had spent years trying to trace the original designer. Last night, after months of searching, they found him, Adam King, the janitor of Phoenix Towers. They licensed his design, legally, fairly, permanently. And overnight, the money was deposited into his account. But Adam had not checked his phone yet. He had no idea about the life-changing email sitting in his inbox. The ATM was the first time he saw the number that would rewrite his fate. The lobby held its breath as Adam stared, stunned, tears forming in his tired eyes. The billionaire who had mocked him now took a trembling step backward. I didn't know," Adam whispered. Victor, suddenly desperate to recover his pride, forced a stiff smile. Well, seems you're full of surprises. Perhaps we can talk investments, opportunities, partnerships. Adam finally lifted his eyes. They weren't angry, they were stronger, braver, heavier with everything he had endured. "With all due respect, sir," he said softly, "I didn't come here for attention. I just needed to know if I could buy my daughter the equipment she needs today." His voice cracked. That was when the cameras stopped filming. One by one, the reporters lowered their microphones. The security guard who laughed earlier swallowed hard, looking away. Adam walked toward the exit, but the billionaire stopped him, not arrogantly this time, but with trembling sincerity. "Wait," Victor said. What you did, what you built, it's extraordinary. Let me help. Not for publicity. Not for business. Let me help your daughter. Adam hesitated. Trust didn't come easy. Kindness from wealthy men was often just another deal in disguise. But this wasn't a negotiation. Victor wasn't smirking anymore. He wasn't surrounded by flashing cameras. He was just a man who realized he had misjudged someone deeply. For a long moment, Adam said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. Help her, he whispered. Not me. And Victor agreed. That afternoon, instead of going back to mopping floors, Adam walked out of the tower as a changed man. The building that had once looked down on him now watched him leave with reverence. People stepped aside respectfully. Some even clapped. Word had spread that the janitor everyone ignored was a brilliant engineer whose forgotten invention had saved lives in simulations and was about to save many more in real missions. Outside, as the autumn wind brushed his face, Adam dialed Lily's school. His voice finally carried a trembling excitement he hadn't felt in years. Sweetheart, he said softly, Daddy's coming. And guess what? Everything's going to be okay now. That night, he bought her the device she needed. A week later, he launched a foundation to help children with mobility challenges. And surprisingly, Victor personally funded many of its programs, not because of guilt, but because Adam inspired him to remember what real humanity looked like. And if you're watching this story right now, take a moment, like this video, subscribe, and stay with us. Because stories like these remind us that the world can change in a single moment, when someone who has nothing is finally seen for who they truly are. Adam didn't become a millionaire that day. He became something much greater. A father who could finally give his daughter the life she deserved. And a man who proved that true worth never comes from a uniform. It comes from the heart.